assault.
I wish they'd just attack and get it over with.
Was inevitable.
I don't suppose you would like to surrender.
Absolutely not.
Retaliation.
Prepare for Dominion attack.
Their only hope.
This is war.
But for Cisco and his crew,
Prepare for a final assault.
it may be their last stand.
All weapons fire at will. Fire.
On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
The Expanse, best of both worlds, and now, call to arms. I am Captain Fist. It is the depths of DS9. I am joined by Lieutenant Commander Gel and Tactical Officer Hobo. Gentlemen, are you excited?
Very much so.
I am.
Yes. Dude, Hobo, I remember you burning this to me, like, to a CD-ROM or something.
Did I?
To me, yeah, years ago.
Oh, man,
dude.
I kind of remember that. Like, I had some, some really crappy quality ones. I don't know where I even got them.
Was it Inglorious 360p?
Yeah,
Man, if you're lucky.
If that, back in the day, that was probably downloaded off of Kazaa.
Dude, video CDs.
I mean, ripped from a licensed DVD.
Of course, the way, yes, it was absolutely legal, whatever it was. Back in 1999, yes.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Just like the junk that was sold to Matthew Perry in the freaking pool. But, folks, it's Call to Arms. It's a season finale, and it is a season finale in the grand tradition of great Star Trek finales, like the ones I just mentioned. The Expanse, which ended Season 2 of Enterprise, which led into the Xindi War, I still think is a superb episode. Maybe a little close to home, a little September 11th-ish. But of course we all know Best of Both Worlds. The classic Season 3 ender, was it, for the Borg story arc and all of that stuff on TNG. I don't know about you guys. We can have more of a roundtable discussion about this a little later if you want, but I feel like this one is up there with the greats. You could put this against both Best of Both Worlds, and this is right up there, right, in terms of ending kind of on a cliffhanger. This isn't, well, it is a cliffhanger, isn't it? It is a cliffhanger. I would say in terms of stakes, it's just as big a cliffhanger.
Yeah, the tension is definitely there.
Yeah, like, you literally, the way this ends with DS9 and all of that stuff. So this is wild. It starts off, though, like all great, super dark, dramatic, action-packed episodes, with something lighthearted, right? Lita and Rom open our episode by reminding us that the most far-fetched sci-fi element on this entire show is their fucking relationship.
I don't know. What do you think?
I like it. Don't you?
Rom, it's 2 handkerchiefs and a loincloth.
I suppose we could lose the handkerchiefs.
Ferengi tradition or no Ferengi tradition, I am not going to be naked at my wedding.
Who said anything about naked? You'll still have the loincloth.
Please show us something else.
There is nothing else. I've shown you 153 different wedding dresses, from Tellarite modern to Ryzian traditional, and you've hated them all.
Well, I like number 38.
Number 38? It had more layers than a Paduvian tapestry.
It was elegant.
It was bulky.
I liked 64. 64?
Eesh.
Well, at least they agree on something.
I hate them as a couple, and I increasingly hate Rom as the series goes on, as you all know, as he turns into Rahm Emanuel. I am not a fan exactly, but here they're planning their wedding, and I have to say I'm on Rom's side on the apparel here for the bride for the bridal gown. Is that bikini taffeta, guys? Do you think?
Yes.
This is, and their idea is they want to ask Cisco to officiate their wedding, correct?
Yes.
The Cisco has a lot on his plate in this episode, though. A lot on his plate. Because shortly after that, very quickly, I mean, they have this little lighthearted moment there where, you know, Rom is sort of kvetching about his wedding and whatever. Then we jump right to the upper ring of the promenade, where everyone is gathered around the window watching the wormhole. And hey, Hobo, why are they watching the wormhole? Is it just because it's a pretty 90s looking screensaver thing?
Yeah, absolutely. They're admiring the special effects that were created.
That's all.
But no, the Dominion had been sending ships through the wormhole for, they said what? It was the 5th like convoy this month or something. Yeah. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, well, later, this is later in the episode, but yeah, the mines. I'm like, why the hell did they wait for like tons of ships to come through before they actually took any action against the ships coming through the wormhole?
That's
right?
a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. It's we cut into, we're several convoys deep on the Federation being cucked by the Dominion, basically. And they know it's to no good end. We hear a little bit of artifice later for the explanation that Weyoun gives for why there's this big convoy, right? And it's bullshit. And Cisco knows it's bullshit as soon as he hears it. Oh, the Cardassians, they're hurting. They're starving in the streets. Things are dire on Cardass, right? All that bullshit. Which is probably true to a degree, but anyways, the Cisco comes dangerously close as he's watching these streams of ships come pouring out of the wormhole. He comes dangerously close to being a black guy in a sci-fi thing who utters the phrase, "There's too many of them!" But instead, he remarks on their punctuality. The Dominion are nothing if not punctual. I think this is a great way to set this up. It's immediately ominous. We know that the Dominion and DS9 in particular have had this unsteady, uneasy kind of parody and tension centered all around one thing and one thing only, and that's the wormhole. The wormhole's the entire thing that moves up the Dominion's timeline. We should talk about the lore on this, because both of you know plenty about it. The Dominion were preparing for war against the Federation. We learn a little bit more about this later, but we already heard some of it in the episode where Odo finds out that his people are the heads of the Dominion in that episode.
Yeah.
But they plan to invade the Federation, but them pouring through the wormhole suddenly being discovered and being found stable, that's what moves up their timetable. That's really the only reason the Federation even have a chance in this war, is because the Dominion weren't quite prepared yet. They had planned to invade, but they're like maybe halfway through their build-up at this point. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, in the episode in question where Odo finds out his people are the Dominion. In the imaginary scenario that they're being put through, they're doing test runs to see, like, how would the Federation react to an invasion? Yeah. And you find out that what their size of their forces are, how prepared everyone is, and yeah, they're not really quite ready yet. But that whole thing with the, I forget which episode it was.
I think, are you talking about the Search? Is the beginning of season
probably,
3,
yeah.
I believe, right?
Right. And the whole idea of collapsing the wormhole pushes up their timeline because they're like, oh shit, these people are ready to go to scorched earth and destroy the wormhole. We got to do this fast.
Yep. There's a lot of that. And that's part of the realism of DS9 compared to some other Star Trek series, is we're going to see by the end of this episode, the Dominion score probably one of, if not the biggest victory of the entire war at the end of this episode. But, like a lot of military victories, it's kind of a at what cost situation, right? There's a realism there. And the same thing is true for when the Federation score a victory. It's often very much attached to it is a caveat of, okay, we won, what's the price that we paid, right? So, and in line with that, we then cut to Sisko's quarters, where we now learn that Sisko has come out against the non-aggression pact. And we only learn this because his son Jake has come out as fake news.
Station commander opposes non-aggression pact.
And the byline.
By Jake Sisko.
You should have warned me.
I was waiting for the right moment.
The right moment was before you published the article.
I know. I'm sorry. But aren't you glad I got a job?
You mean this isn't a one-time thing?
Nope. I'm now an official correspondent for the Starfleet News Service.
What about your novel?
I'm not giving up on it. But this way I get to see my work in print.
And apparently I get to see everything I say in print, too.
You're a public figure, Dad. You're the captain of the most important space station in the entire Federation. You're news.
Don't remind me.
He has come out. He is a member of the press. He originally wanted to be a novelist. I think this is the moment where we officially transition into Jake Sisko becoming a journalist, which is an arc that'll carry him through right till the end of the series, really. Before we move off of this is important character development for Jake, who's kind of an on-again, off-again presence. He hasn't been in this season a whole lot. He wasn't in the last season a whole lot. He becomes a little bit more of a recurrent character going forward, and it's probably because they find this thread for him. I've often described Jake Sisko as Wesley Crusher with all the annoying shit taken out. That's basically, it's like they wanted to take a second crack at Wesley Crusher. How do you guys feel the journalist thing? How do you feel it helps his character? Does it make him better going forward? How did you like this, and how do you feel like it pans out for the character going forward here as we head into now, believe it or not, season 6?
Yeah, it seems good. I mean, it's interesting that he's the dynamic of him being like Sisko's son, of course. With Sisko is such a big figure, but it's like they can't do anything to him because, you know, of the, well, we learn later, the non-aggression pact, which is eventually signed later. But yeah, it is really interesting that he's able to be like this spy. And well, as far as him being a journalist, it's like, yeah, he finally kind of found his niche, it seems like, you know.
It's a thread that they can pull on. It's good fodder for storytelling. You know, and we already had the episode where Jake kind of flips out and runs in the middle of a war zone. He sort of freaks out and has a panic attack and runs from the front line and all of that stuff. We had that. And now Jake, it's like the war, that was a war zone in a separate area. Now the war zone's coming to him, right? So he sort of can't escape it. It's a better plot conceit, I think, than maybe you would initially think, because now basically he's going to have to be a wartime front lines reporter. And it's funny, if you watch the DS9 What We Left Behind documentary, they go through and they write a prospective 8th season, right? They bring all the writers back and they sit down and say, okay, here's how we would bring DS9 back for an 8th season. And as they're going through all the characters, when they get to Jake Sisko, they go, oh, he's back on Earth and he's in his apartment and he's got chicks around and, you know, he's kind of famous and because he's a famous author. And what's the book that he's been writing? The freaking Dominion War book series, right? He's famous because of all the front lines reporting, and it makes sense, right? It would actually launch him. It'd be interesting to see what the character that ultimately birthed. But speaking of character, we then shoot over to the cargo ring, and we get a glimpse of Dax and Kira and Odo the incel. Odo is looming and exchanging harumphs with Kira, at which point Dax presses her on, like, okay, look, what happened here? What exactly is going on? You've barely said 2 words to each other. He's boring a hole in the back of your head. What is this shit? And she's like, well, he sort of kind of asked me to go steady. You know what I mean? And that's barely dealt with here, but the few scenes that we get with Kira and Odo do work. But it's honestly, to me, it felt, we'll have a scene a little bit later that kind of hammers this home, but like, it seemed like Kira and Odo were being put together as an item, which they eventually will be, but it seems like the writer want to pump the brakes because, hey, we got all this Dominion War shit to do, so we can't get into all this right now. I don't know, how did that come off to you? It seemed like putting the feelings on the back burner was an excuse for the writers to sort of pull back on that so they can deal with the war.
I think it works. I mean, it's a good excuse. I mean, right now, with the Dominion War on, like, literally at their doorstep,
yeah,
I think they realize they have to pump the brakes on quite a few things.
Yeah.
Like, not just, like, this romance, but a couple of other things, like Worf and Jadzia's
Yeah, Worf and
romance.
Jadzia, which a little later, I mean, it's not even a big plot point, but a little bit later, she essentially says yes to his long-standing marriage proposal. So it's like they're kind of pumping the brakes while moving ahead with Jadzia and Worf. That is probably the worst storyline of the next season, but we are setting some good storylines up here. There's another pairing here that we're also introduced to again, and that, of course, is Zial and Garrick as well.
Yes.
Garrick gets some great stuff in this episode, guys.
Oh, yeah.
He gets some great stuff. But before all that, I love the 190th rule of acquisition.
Ah, yes. It's a good one.
It's great. Hear all, trust nothing. But that's because Sisko is being asked about the rumor that is swirling around that the Romulans have gone full Romulan, signing a non-aggression pact with the Dominion. And it's funny, when I first was hit with this, I was like, is that true? Is it just a rumor? Is it real? And by the next scene, Sisko confirms it.
The Romulans. I always knew they were without honor. Now they have proven it.
When did they sign the treaty?
Yesterday.
They must be desperate to side with the Dominion.
Technically, they're not siding with anyone. It's a non-aggression pact.
Which means if the Dominion attacks, they just sit by and do nothing.
The Romulans, the Miradon, the Tholians. The Dominion is making impressive inroads in the Alpha Quadrant.
And the Bajorans are still talking to them?
Oh, my people will never sign that treaty or any other agreement with the Dominion.
So, we're really fucked now if the Romulans are choosing the Dominion side. Like, we're really... And, of course, we'll have a great episode down the road here to really formally get the Romulans down off the fence and out of the arms of the Dominion. Probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, episode of the entire series. But, yeah, so how are you guys feeling about how it's shaping up so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been... They introduced the Dominion at the end of season 2, and you could tell, like, they've been arcing towards this for years. In fact, they've been building this up like an actual Cold War. Another thing that actually is realistic, because sometimes it takes a while for an actual hot war to start to pop off, right? So it's just they built up to it, and now, like, you can tell it's here, and things are moving forward very fast, accelerating very fast. And the Romulans, of course, are, like you said, being Romulan. And Worf is pissed, and he slams his... he says, the Romulans, they are without honor.
We are without honor,
of
yes.
Course.
And Sisko, of course, resorts to his favorite pastime. War crimes, sweet war crimes. Self-replicating, folks. It's not just something DSP does before a video game stream anymore. Self-replicating space mines, people.
With shotguns attached to them, yes.
Yes! With laser beams attached to their heads. And who comes up with it? This is one of the many reasons Rom... I mean, the Lita Rom thing annoys me a lot, but the thing that really annoys me is the idiot savant version of Rom, where he's always coming up with a super plot-convenient invention.
Self-replication. That's the only answer.
Self-replication?
If the mines are going to be small, we'll need a lot of them. And we'll need a way to replace them quickly if the Jem'Hadar try to blast their way through. And... Uh-oh. I forgot to request new quarters. Mine are too small. Where are Lita and I going to live?
Ram, I think you're onto something.
I know I am. I've measured them 3 times. There's nowhere to put her prayer mandala.
We could equip each mine with a replicator unit.
No matter how many the Jem'Hadar destroyed, there'd always be more.
We'd program them to swarm detonate. 20 or 30 mines to each ship.
The only problem is you'll have to wait until the entire minefield is deployed before you activate it. Otherwise, the proximity sensors could cause premature detonation. Where's Lita gonna put all her clothes?
The power of autism.
Yes, he's a you know what? He kind of is the magic autist trope, isn't he?
Well, when did Mercury Rising come out?
I don't know. This guy has a Rain Man thing going on.
I mean, that's kind of like what they did. Speaking of, we mentioned Wesley Crusher earlier. That was kind of the thing early on in TNG too. And now, like, Rom sort of has that going, where it's like, oh yeah, this guy's always right about stuff or whatever, you know?
Yep. We cut to, I think, really the only other Odo and Kira scene. This must be said. You notice now, we've jumped from scene to scene. What are you guys putting together? What are you noticing about all these scenes now put together? I'll tell you what I noticed. Every damn character is accounted for. Every single one.
Yeah.
Not one has been left out. Garrett, Zial, Cisco, Kira, Bashir, everybody. Absolutely everybody is involved in this episode and has something meaningful to do. Maybe Bashir and O'Brien get short shrift a little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, O'Brien does say that, okay, so the wife and the kids are back on Earth to establish that. And with Bashir, I think he actually gets the short end of the
Bashir does
stick.
get some stuff. He and Jake, as it becomes obvious that the Dominion are coming through the wormhole, this is gonna come to blows. There's a great scene with him and Jake where Jake, we know, and this is great character stuff, we had a whole episode where Jake crumpled under pressure. He folded on a war zone, in a front line on a war zone. Well, now the front line has come to him, and he's working in an infirmary with the wounded. And if you really analyze his performance, I think he's playing this way. He's playing it this way. He is sort of trying to make amends for how he behaved before, sort of. It's really well done, actually, the whole scene with him and Bashir. So you're right. Everybody gets something is the thing that I'm taking away from this. And so we cut to Kira and Odo in the security office, and they exchange some chilly dialogue. And finally, Odo's just like, all right, look, I was thinking of asking you to dinner, but you're a frigid bitch, so we're not so much. So Odo saves some time by putting himself in the friend zone, which has got to be a new record. That's just incredible.
And you can tell she's like super relieved by it too. She's like, oh, I didn't have to do that. You did it yourself.
Oh, I don't have to worry about whether his dick is gooey. Fantastic. Good shit. You know what I mean? But that's the least of the station's problems, because when I say everybody's involved in this episode, every member of the extended cast, I do mean every member of the extended cast, because Weyoun shows up very, very shortly. And here's the subtext that I picked up. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but as soon as they are dropping the minefield, I think they're still in the process of dropping the minefield, he shows up, and he's already apprised of it.
Yep.
Which implies he's already got spies on the station. That's interesting to me. So who is it? That's my question. Well, let's be honest. We all know it's Keiko. Let's not shit ourselves. It's got to be Keiko. But I love what have you guys pointed out? Like, holy shit, talk about a 180 for a character. In a single episode's time, Weyoun has gone from laying in a tanning bed and baseball card collecting to threatening to invade DS9.
Yes, absolutely. He was like super jolly in the last episode, actually, and he's almost, it's kind of interesting because they make him almost likable right before they go and do this.
Right. So. I love that, but it ratchets up the tension really, really nicely because it's earned. It's earned. We've been building up to this for not just a season, but seasons. And so, you know, Cisco, he they sort of have an uneasy negotiation. I like this scene because it's played really well. Like, you can tell neither one buys the bullshit that the other one is selling.
It saddens me to see how deeply you misunderstand us. All the Dominion wants is to peacefully coexist with its neighbors.
Then why the continued military buildup? Why the weekly convoys of ships and troops from the Gamma Quadrant?
It's the Cardassians. Don't get me wrong. I'm pleased to call them allies, but as you know, they've just been through a terrible war with the Klingons. I'm afraid it's left them somewhat jittery. So they're understandably concerned about ensuring the sovereignty of their borders, and since they're now members of the Dominion, their concerns have become our concerns.
Yeah. Oh, yes! I think there's a very Neville Chamberlain moment where Weyoun turns around before he leaves Sisko's quarters, and he just says, I believe, essentially, we've achieved peace in our time, right? a very Neville Chamberlain moment, but he doesn't buy it for a minute. The very next scene, I love how there's a hard cut, and we jump to the next scene, and Sisko goes, they're going to attack.
Yep. It's great. One of the best moments.
Oh, it's great. Sisko knows that means war, and so he cucks himself almost as hard as Odo and recommends Bajor sign the Pinko Pact with the Dominion.
Remember the non-aggression pact the Dominion offered Bajor a few weeks ago?
Yeah, they're still debating it in the Council of Ministers. It'll never pass.
It'll pass if the emissary endorses it.
You want Bajor to sign a treaty with the Dominion?
How did this hit you? I remember being surprised by this when I watched this episode originally.
Actually, when it happened originally, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It didn't surprise me at all, because if Bajor is still on the fence when the Cardassians show up, they're going to take the place by force. True. But if they say to the Dominion, hey, everything's cool, then the Cardassians have no choice but to obey.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really surprised that they did it because Bajor is not a powerful planet, right? It's like one of those, like, it's really like a third world country, really. You know what I mean?
They're poor farmers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, they kind of just have to go along with whatever's going to work for them.
They're so poor and so Bajoran. It's fantastic. Sisko then commits his greatest war crime of all, marrying Lita off to Rom. That's an interesting scene. It's kind of the calm before the storm, the deep breath before the plunge. And is it in that scene or a preceding one where Rom has the autistic savant idea of the cloaked minds? Or of the self-replicating minds? I think it's a preceding.
No, that was before the...
I'm mixing it up. Yeah,
it was beforehand. They were having coffee with Jadzia and Miles, and he's coming up with this as he's talking about the wedding.
Yeah. Then Martok interrupts. He reaches out to let them know, hey, we're patrolling around. We're pretty sure we're about to make contact with the Dominion. And then all of a sudden, Martok's communications cut out. Turns out the Dominion have jammed communications pretty much immediately, which basically confirms, like, this is going to come to blows. This is going to be a flat-out freaking war crime inbound. I should mention, there's a bunch of, like, farewell. We kind of enter the farewell phase of the episode. In the background, this is kind of an episode of farewells. One of the writers of this episode and many others who we've discussed before, Robert Hewitt Wolf, one of the main members of the writing staff of DS9, he was leaving the series at this point. He had some career opportunities and kind of felt burned out, and like he'd written as many storylines as he possibly could for the characters. He would return in season 7 for what is maybe one of my favorite episodes of the entire series, actually, an Ezri Dax murder mystery episode that I absolutely dig. But for the most part, he's pretty much gone here, and you can see him in this scene where Garrick is waving goodbye to Ziyal and kind of kissing her goodbye. I believe he's in the background as one of the wounded engineers being hauled off. Either that or it's in the Jadzia Wharf scene that follows this immediately after. But Ziyal, she doesn't seem as worried as Garrick. Of course, I guess she survived seeing George Costanza's shriveled dick in that Seinfeld episode, so it's totally fine. But, dude, Garrick, I love the scene right after this where we cut to Odo, who's in an awkward position, right? Because he used to be constable under Cardassian occupation, and now he's gonna be again. So he's on the upper deck of the promenade, looking down, watching all these people evacuate, and Garrick sidles up to him. This is like one of the best scenes in the whole freaking episode. This is one of the absolute best scenes in the whole episode, where he's talking about, you know, there was an episode previously where we had our little Power Rangers team up, me and Dukat, and there was a moment when he turned his back to me, and I seriously considered shooting him, right?
You'd shoot a man in the back?
Well, it's the safest way, isn't it?
You'd shoot a man in the back.
Well, it's the safest way, isn't it?
And now you regret it.
Ah, my dear Constable. Before this day is over, everyone on this station is going to regret it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Garrick gets 2 banger lines here.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end, to close out this scene, Odo says, well, do you regret not killing Dukat? And Garrick simply replies, my dear Constable, by the end of this ordeal, we're all going to regret it.
Yes, that was great.
Absolutely.
How does the writers favor him so much? He gets such good lines.
Him and Dukat, like both of them, really. It's funny, we talked about this a little bit the last episode, I think, but like, when the series was airing, I don't know if Hobo would agree with me, because he and I used to talk about these episodes after they aired, especially these Dominion ones. But back when this show was airing, it seemed like the fan favorite, you know, kind of anti-hero character was Gul Dukat. But now, after, you know, in the binging generation, people going back and watching DS9 on DVD and on streaming services, Garrick's the guy.
Yeah,
I think.
For sure nowadays. Yeah. I guess Dukat maybe was. It's hard to remember for me back that far, but yeah, Garrick definitely, absolutely. He has so many great lines throughout the series. Everyone's like, he's the based character, you know.
he really is, dude. Even Andrew Robinson pretending that he's gay can't ruin Garrick. It just doesn't. It doesn't even work. What follows, of course, is one of the great space combat sequences in all of Star Trek. Like, this was cinema quality. You could have seen this in Star Trek First Contact and completely bought it. In fact, a lot of these spaceships and stuff, these miniatures, are recycled from Star Trek First Contact. This is just some of the best sci-fi action you'll see, certainly on syndicated television. This is great.
It ticks you off and even more just to see a scene like this.
Yeah.
And knowing we never got a Deep Space Nine movie.
Ugh. You know, that's the thing. We kind of got movies, but they were TV movies. They were The Pilot, right? They were Way of the Warrior. They were the 3-parter at the beginning of season 2.
Yeah, I was going to mention that one.
That kind of stuff. In the Hands of the Prophets. These were like standalone mini movies. And so DS9 kind of got it. And the cool thing about DS9, and I don't know if you guys would agree, is it's so often steered into this cinematic quality on certain episodes that it almost makes up for it. It's like we got a movie every week in a way, especially when this series really hit its stride. It just seemed like one banger episode after another, after another, after another. So I just... When you really break it down, now that, speaking of Way of the Warrior, is this episode basically Way of the Warrior, except the good guys lose?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's got similar space battle. I mean, you don't see... I think the whole entire series, there's like... You really only see the station like in combat like 3 times. First is Emissary, second is Way of the Warrior, which, by the way... Speaking of just a DS9 movie, Way of the Warrior is basically, because I think a lot of them are 2-parters, but that one is just 1 part, and that's the one I've used to convert people to DS9.
It's true.
Like, I'm like, you want to see an awesome, just like, show?
Yeah,
watch
Star
Way
Trek
of the
thing.
Warrior,
yeah.
specific, and then you can go back and watch the rest of the series. but not to get too far into that. This is like the third time you see the station actually in combat. So yeah, and it's awesome effects. It's an totally awesome battle.
Yeah, this is one of the great space battles, but the feds kind of lose. Well, sort of. They do manage to drop their payload of self-replicating mines. So they sort of strip mine the place. I've often called the Bajorans the space French. They're sort of treated like the French were in World War II a little bit. But this time, it is the Federation who turn tail and surrender. They are flipping out, and Sisko eventually, the battle commences and they're going back and forth. Finally, he orders a full retreat and evacuation of DS9. My jaw hit the floor when they actually evacuated from DS9. I thought there was going to be some catch back in the day. I remember like, there's got to be something like an underground resistance or something. No, there's no catch. And this remains the case, I would add, for the first several episodes of season 6. It's a while before they actually get anywhere near DS9, I remember, at the beginning of season 6. Do you guys remember how long it took? It was like 5 or 6 episodes.
It was a few episodes. It was a while. Like, you actually got accustomed to life with the Dominion and Cardassians on the station.
Some of the best Dukat stuff, too.
Yeah.
Well,
I love the thing. When it happens, we'll talk about it. I love how he starts carrying around the baseball.
Yes, I do too. So the feds flee, and so does. By the time they get down to the Defiant, they learn that so does plain simple Garrick.
Yep.
He's fled too, and basically he just comes right out and admits, I sort of kind of have nowhere else to go.
Asylum.
Yeah,
I got my green card.
Are we ready?
As soon as you give the word, sir.
Mr. Garrick?
I'd like to come along if you don't mind. You never know when you might need a good tailor. And the simple fact is, I have nowhere else to go.
Welcome aboard.
Dax to Sisko. The Dominion fleet is coming around for another attack.
Release docking clamps. Prepare for departure.
I mean, let's be honest. What would have happened if he stayed behind with Dukat
he's all kinds of dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Bajor ain't gonna like him either, so he couldn't really go there.
Yep. And of course, the Bajoran, this must be said, the Bajoran members of the cast and Bajoran adjacent members of the cast, like Odo, they are staying behind. They are staying behind here. But Kira, being in Al-Qaeda, she goes ahead and salts the fields and fries the communications first.
Well, let's give credit where credit's due. This was Sisko's idea.
That's true.
He set up the program, and Kira stayed behind to execute it, and it fried basically everything on the station.
Yep. They want the station, they can have it. But Kira, as it turns out, is not the only person who stayed behind. Hey Hobo, who stayed behind?
Oh yeah, Jake.
Yep.
Jake? Aren't you supposed to be on the Defiant?
I changed my mind. There's a war going on, and I'm a reporter. This is where I belong.
Jake, again, over his father's objections, obviously, stays behind, and so Sisko learns of this and freaks out, has a little meltdown, but then after thinking about it for a moment, he does what I'm sure no black man has ever done. He abandons his son. He goes ahead and flies off into the ether and leaves Jake Sisko on an active war zone and on an occupied space station. I'm sure it'll be the first and last time he abandons Jake Sisko.
It's got a good reason, and I'm sure he'll never do it again.
I'm sure.
For 25 years.
I'll never forget the crane shot of Dukat and Weyoun and all the Dominion soldiers walking out of the promenade, out of the docking ring and whatever.
Yeah.
Literally taking possession of the station. This is one of the classic moments, dude, of all of Star Trek. I'll never forget that shot. That the Dominion win, but as I said before, it's kind of at what cost situation.
That's right, because we establish during the whole meeting and talking about this impending invasion that Starfleet will not be available for this, defending Deep Space Nine. And even Kira says, well, what the hell is more important than this? And now we get to find out.
I want you to know that while we were keeping the Dominion occupied, a Starfleet Klingon task force crossed the border into Cardassia and destroyed the Dominion shipyards on Taurus 3. Your sacrifices, our sacrifices, made that victory possible.
The Dominion are, unfortunately, they've got the wormhole still mined, so they have no way to call reinforcements. So it's sort of a little bit of a, they're screwed either way. So they're in a situation where they've won a major victory, but they've kind of taken a future loss at the same time. Again, this is part of the realism we were referring to here, and the stuff that I really, really appreciate this. And so when Dukat finds that Cisco left a baseball behind, he already knows he'll be back. He'll absolutely be back. But he doesn't know that Cisco will be arriving with friends.
Yep, the Defiant meets up with the fleet. The fleet that just got done attacking Dominion shipyards in Cardassian space.
Yep. And one thing that is not seen in this shot, and this is a flub. We end here, and it gets you, dude, it gets your blood pumping. You're like, oh, they're rejoining the fleet. Shoot, beginning of season 6, we're going to have a big slugfest. They're immediately going to strike. No, apparently that was the effects department going into business for itself. Because it didn't make sense to them to have the Dominion, just kind of saunter up to them and sit there. Like, it was kind of static. So they had the idea of, oh, they'll turn around and they'll join them. And then they didn't make the fleet look battle damaged because it wouldn't have seemed as triumphant, right? But at the beginning of the next season, spoiler alert, we cut right into what we don't see, which is this fleet is battle damaged to shit. They are not ready to retake DS9 at all, because they just got done striking those shipyards, and the Dominion is the damn Dominion. So they're no pushovers. So Starfleet took heavy losses just as the Dominion did. This is just part of keeping the stakes going, and just what I've repeatedly alluded to over the course of this episode. Realism. Recurrent, real. You do not strike shipyards without taking heavy losses. So this should really be a limping DS9 limping off to a limping fleet, right? Everybody's battle damaged. This is such a great way to end the freaking episode. This is right up there with the zoom in on Riker and fire, right? This is right up there, in my opinion.
100%.
Yep.
Freaking fantastic. For me, this is without question a perfect 5 out of 5 episode.
Same, 100%. 5 out of 5
as well. I absolutely agree.
This is one of those episodes, like Way of the Warrior, like Duet, like In the Hands of the Prophets, like The Siege, some of those better In the Pale Moonlight. This is an episode to show to someone to convert them to Deep Space Nine. This is one of those proselytic episodes. Even if you don't know all that much about the Dominion story arc they're setting up, you'll already know, based on just the framework of this episode, what the stakes are, and that really cool shit is happening, more importantly, plus great space battles, great writing. Every single character, every single actor gets something to chew on. This is top flight Deep Space Nine, and this is a finale worthy of what is, in my opinion, the greatest Star Trek series ever made. How do you guys appraise it? Hobo, talk to me about your final thoughts on Call to Arms.
Oh man, I remember watching that when it first came out, and I was like, oh wow, because this was a big deal. Imagine if there was a TNG or original series episode where they're off the Enterprise for 5 episodes straight. This level of serialization was pretty new to television, actually, at the time. So this, now all shows are kind of like this, but at the time, that was a big deal, them abandoning the station. And this was awesome. This is actually probably my favorite sub-arc of, DS9 is, them leaving the station and reclaiming it. I would say.
Yeah. This is a great one. What about you, Taryn? What are your final thoughts on Call to Arms?
After all the buildup over 5 seasons, it finally happens and we're at war with the Dominion, and it's everything I wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. This is up there with the finest serialized sci-fi. If you're a Babylon 5 fan, Farscape, all that stuff, all those great series, this is up there. This is not only up there, this is up at the top. This is top shelf Star Trek, top shelf sci-fi. That writer's room, freaking just a workman's job. I can't believe it. So folks, we have ended season 5. We will have a wrap-up for the season after this to talk about all of the different episodes. But other than that, folks, this has been season 5 of the Depths of DS9, a fine call to arms. I am Captain Fist alongside Tactical Officer Hobo and Lieutenant Commander Gel. Until next season, engage.
Wow. That was the most pathetic excuse for a wedding ceremony I've ever seen.